It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop, and you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling, and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation. So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Do not adjust your TV sets or your computer monitors. I am this pale. I'm also really this fat. Joining me as always is the man with the shiniest mask in bowling. He is killing it on Howell Lanes on Thursday nights. I'm sure he will love to tell you all about it. He is the bicep flexing, shit talking, Fireball drinking. Oh, he's not in Fireball anymore. That's right. He changed that. What are you drinking now, Oj?
Don't adjust your computer screens or your tablets. I am this jacked, and he is that fat.
Also,
on the water kick, man.
Water. Well, yeah, no, I know you're on water, but I mean, you used to drink Fireball, but you switched to that Tennessee.
Yeah, actually, I
Jack Daniel's Tennessee Fire
did have some antifreeze type of material in it, which I'm okay with because I can digest anything. I'm Ocho. I can bowl in any condition, and I can digest anything.
True.
I think they put it down on the lane patterns actually one night, Fireball. But yeah, the Jack Daniel's is much better, and that's my jam when I have some jam. Yeah, bring him in, man.
The world is out to get you.
Johnny Petraglia Jr.'s here. What's up, JP?
What's up, guys? Thanks for making me almost fall out of my chair laughing with that intro, Rob.
How are you, my friend?
I laughed so hard just now. I thought that was great. I'm good. I'm good, man. Everything is perfectly fine. Life's good. Lady's good. Work's good. Bowling's good. What's up, Kyle? Good to see you, bro. How you doing, Brett? Shuffling in here nice and early. How are you, Jim? We do have a long intro, and I hope you enjoy every second of it. Thank you very much.
That's the show.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Derek Machad's in the house. What's going on, Derek?
What's up, D?
Stephanie's in the house.
Brett, feel free to say whatever you want about the US Open convo. Steph, great to see you. Dan, nice to see you as always. Kyle, enjoy Indy. And BJ, good to see you as well.
So Brett wants to start talking about the US Open. So, I mean, that's fair. I know you have something interesting that you want to also announce, Johnny, if you want to. We'll just jump right into what you have planned.
Yeah, so for our viewers that are already here, this is a special for tonight's show only. And here's the parameters and everything that needs to be followed. We're going to be giving away a free bowling ball to the first person that correctly guesses the winner of this year's US Open. So the way we're going to do that is this. It's simply this. you must come on to this feed. You must come on to our live show. Hi, Nicole Neff. You must be here for this live show, and we are going to be done tonight at approximately 6:20 p.m., so it's a slightly shorter show than normal. If we have multiple people guess the same person to win the U.S. Open and that person wins the U.S. Open, we will come back to this video, and the first person that wrote that bowler's name will get the ball. In other words, if 7 people say the same name, we're still only going to give 1 bowling ball out. Just want to clear that up for everybody. But on tonight's show, if you post, like Brett just did, if you post who you think is going to win the U.S. Open and that person does win the U.S. Open, I will be in direct contact with you, figure out what weight and ball you're looking for, obviously under the 7 brands of Brunswick. So as they continue to come on in here, just go ahead and at the conclusion, again, I'll make a post live on my Facebook page when at the conclusion of the U.S. Open, and also when we have double entries for a specific bowler, if that bowler is selected, who it actually goes to. So if you want to spread the word to your friends who may not be tuning in live tonight, let them know that by simply writing a name, and you never know who's going to win. There is an updated roster available for everybody to see of the 108 entrants, including who will be coming out of the TQR into this year's U.S. Open.
Yeah, I'm not in it, so don't put me down, guys. I know everybody would pick Ocho, but I'm not in it this year. I have other commitments.
Correct. So anyway, and there is one exception. If JD wants a motive ball and he happens to win, maybe I'll figure something out, but that's it. All right, then. So now that we got that out of the way, I know that we've got, Rob, you got a couple topics that you wanted to discuss tonight, and may as well get on to it.
Will Simo repeat this year and defend his U.S. Open title for his 4th major? What do you think, Ocho?
No.
Johnny, I know he's a friend of yours, and he's also one of the best bowlers in the entire world. Do you think obviously he has the ability, but it's going to be a tough field this year. Do you think he's going to repeat?
I mean, that's like asking me if I think the Chiefs are going to make it to the Super Bowl next year. Like, yes, I do, but anything can happen. Repeating at the U.S. Open is a feat all on its own, and very few people have ever actually done it. Matter of fact, I think the only person to ever successfully defend their U.S. Open title is Dave Houston when he did it back in 1995 and 1996. I haven't looked at the full roster yet, but I'd certainly, throw his name in the hat for a potential, for one of the guys that is supposed to be up there and at least make the show. So, yeah, I think that's a great selection. The same way any of the top bowlers in the world right now would be great selections for something like this. But now that we've got that out, and again, anybody that's already here and knows that, if you want to share it with your friends, please go right ahead. And that's great, not only for us, but it's great that there's a chance to win a $200 bowling ball for simply writing a name.
You summed it up with that too, by the way, JP, because really it is any of the top 20 bowlers is a legit good answer. I mean, you can't. It's hard to argue when it's a 1-game format. You know what I mean? It's hard to. I wonder if you could say, like, do you think the top 20 will be? You can't. I know, but like, you could pick any of the top 20 guys, and they're all legit chances. They're each one has pretty close to the same chance as the other. Maybe not top 20, but so there's really no bad answers in this year.
I don't think so either, Ocho. That brings up a really good point. And meanwhile, everybody that is tuning in and looking for that free ball, make sure you hit that like button as well. And that's greatly appreciated from our end. What you're saying here, Ocho, I definitely agree with. And what's cool about it is, although we talked about all the negatives about the U.S. Open, the positive in this respect is you would think with this limited field that pretty much everybody in it has a chance to win. Mm-hmm. And when I was doing some of my research earlier, what I find really, really cool about it is what they're doing is at the conclusion of match play, they're actually airing not only the top 4 or 5, they're actually going to air the top 9 bowlers. So what they're doing is they're taking seeds 5 through 9 after the completion of qualifying and match play, and 5 through 9 are actually going to bowl a step ladder on television.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, and then the winner of that enters as the number 5 seed with seeds 1 through 4.
Oh, wow.
So what's great about this is there's going to be 9 guys competing on television. So if you happen to select one guy that's in the top 9, you have an additional incentive to watch the U.S. Open. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's a great idea, all things considered.
It's great for exposure to the bowlers too, really. I mean, only getting 5 bowlers on the television every week and very rare clips of, who had to make the last strike to make TV, which, albeit is exciting, they just don't do enough of it. It's good for getting the guys the exposure that they need and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Jim, to answer your question, no, I am not. I am a THB these days, typical house bowler. Thanks, Dick Allen, for giving me that acronym. I was just going to say something here. Well, the other cool thing about it is, remember, there's a bowling ball limit again this year. I believe they're limited to either 8 or 10 bowling balls. So what's great about that is, to some extent, it does also level the playing field. Yes, you still have the greats in the game with the raw talent, but now you also don't have the ability to go out to the truck after a block or two when you're really struggling and say, hey, I need to drill magic balls A, B, and C because I need this motion down lane and nothing I have with me is filling that gap. So the balls that they bring and they decide to use at the completion of their practice session is what they are using to. Roger, I think you may be right. I think 6 is a little low. I think, if I recall, the one year they did it at Carolier, they limited it to 8, and I think that maybe this year it's 10 or it's vice versa. I'll check on that, though.
I just said that last week, so they already took my idea. That's amazing. Are they still doing the flat pattern? Is that how the US Open is, where it's just flat across the board up until like 40, or at least used to be like 15, 20 years ago? I don't know.
That's a great question. I know they haven't been using the 40-foot flat pattern recently. I was seeing if I had it in the tournament notes here, if they actually have it posted anywhere. If they do, I'll find it at some point. I do not believe they're going back to the 40-foot flat. I know they're certainly not going to be easy, that's for sure. But I don't think they're going to be as brutal as they were of the 40-foot flat years when it was back at Carolier. I think in a tournament like that, Brett, you're totally cool with going with even 5. But again, so those are the parameters for this year's US Open. Already seen a ton of names here that I would definitely, actually every single name I've seen has a 100% chance to win the US Open. Damn right. So it's certainly going to be exciting to watch. And in a historic place like Woodland Bowl in Indy, kudos to that. So rather than talking all the negative nonsense like you guys are used to hearing me say, let's try and look at the positives of what they're bringing out of it and then feed off it a little bit there. But that's what we wanted to present to you, our viewers. First off, just simply to say thank you for always being here. Rob graciously put this together for us from day one, and we've been here now for 56 episodes, and you guys are all the reason why we keep coming back. So aside from our absolute love for the game. So thanks to Rob for getting this set up, and it's the least that we can do, the least that I can do is try and give back a little bit to you guys for all of your continued support here with us.
All right, moving on to the next topic, which is a hot button topic right now, especially since Tom Clark even mentioned it in his State of the Union address for the USBC a couple weeks ago. Will the USBC ever sanction tournaments and leagues in centers that use string pinsetters? Now, I know we covered this topic several months ago, but it's come back again because there actually are a lot of bowling centers that are announcing that they are switching to using these string setters. And I know that a lot of people hate them. It causes a lot of issues with, knocking pins over. What do you do if a pin falls? You have to wait. You have to get them to reset it. There's going to be a lot of downtime having to do that. So, Johnny, do you think there's going to be enough centers to, I'd say, switch to this pin setters to where the USBC actually has to take notice and say, well, maybe we need to look into this?
Not anytime soon, but yes. I absolutely despise string pins. Rev Rates, the Russo and Bone facility back in New Jersey, in their 5-lane facility, the 5th lane is actually string pins. So the benefits of the string pins, number one, I'm always you see these posts every day of local mom and pop bowling centers and all these historic bowling centers that have been around forever just closing every single day. They're closing because people aren't going bowling anymore. They're too involved in their own lives and social media, and there's people just don't like to go out anymore and then do anything. So all these mom and pop places are closing. So when you think about say a 50-lane bowling alley that's full of GSX pin setters, and you're figuring $35,000 a pair for GSX pin setters at 50 lanes. So do the math there. It's a lot of money. Whereas comparatively speaking, a lot less moving parts, a lot less shit to worry about with string pin setters. So they're much more monetarily efficient than standard pin setters. So from that standpoint, as far as keeping existing bowling centers running for cheaper and still providing the same atmosphere at the recreational level, because recreational bowlers ain't really going to give a shit what they're bowling on as long as the pins fall when the ball hits it. Eventually, over time, I can foresee it happening that they will be forced to sanction leagues in those houses, because, I mean, I pray to God it doesn't happen, guys. I mean, I've had firsthand experience working on string pin setters and bowling on them. And like Derek just said, I think they're dumb. And the reason I think they're dumb is, number one, the sound. Because the pit, behind the pin deck is not as deep. The ball doesn't fall off into a pit. It kind of it makes this clunky, weird, funky noise. Anybody that's ever bowled on string pins knows the noise I'm talking about. It doesn't really sound like actual bowling pins are falling. So that's one thing I don't like. The other thing is it's going to change the game drastically in the respect that certain kinds of bowlers can manipulate the string pins. What I mean by that is when Anthony Simonson came out to rev rates, the first thing he wanted to try was to see if he could figure out a way to hit the 10 pin perfectly enough that the string itself would whip the 10 pin back across the deck to the 7 pin to make the 7-10. The pins fall awkwardly. If a string is tipping before the rake comes down or before the pins get sucked back up into the hole, it can drag. There's a lot of controversial pin counts due to the string pins. So for the what's the word I'm looking for the integrity of the game, I think it sucks. I think it really takes the sporting element completely out of it. The sound is garbage, but monetarily, for let's say a standard 24-lane bowling alley that really wants to stay open for its customers, and their choice is either to go to string pins and save $20,000 a pair, or say goodbye to all their bowlers and close their doors, the bowlers are all going to bitch, but they're still going to go back to that bowling center, especially if it's the only one in the area.
Right.
So I can go either way with this. Again, progression is, it's a thing. It's the way the world works, and it's an attempt, I would say, to try and keep the game stable and not become non-existent. I despise them. I think they're garbage. I think they suck. I hate them. I don't know if I hate anything more than them.
Would averages go down a little bit based on pin carry or, pin action, since they're attached to something?
Well, like what Kyle said right there, it benefits bowlers who can throw it harder. If you can throw it harder, you don't only have the action of the pin, you have the action of the string.
Right, you actually have a fulcrum almost to it, a whip almost. But
right. But for instance, Oach, the hits that we're used to, like the light swisher or the messenger that comes across the deck and hits the 10 pin, leaves like that, you don't see nearly as much as you do with regular pins.
The light swisher was like the Dick Weber kind of forte, right? Like the originator of bowling. So that's kind of what happens. Do they just not mix up as much because of the string being attached?
The best way I can, the best way I could say it is they just mix differently. Like when you pinch it a little bit inside a target, or you get a little bit soft, and you leave a 4-pin or a 6-pin, you know exactly why you left a 4-pin or a 6-pin. You were a little high.
You'll call it even before you go up 4-pin as you're watching it hit the pocket, and hope it's not a 4-9 or something.
Jack Hart, it's good to see you too, bro. What about slower ball speeds for the older folks? That I don't know. I mean, I've watched my dad on the string pins. I mean, my dad leaves flat 7s on regular pins because he's 96 years old now. But on the string pins, I mean, he really leaves a lot of flat 7 pins too. But they fall sluggish. So yes, Jack, I don't think it's as good a benefit for the slower ball speeded players as much as it is like what Kyle said for the higher speed guys. Again, you're adding more elements other than just the pins, the sideboards, the kickbacks. Now you're adding this string on top of it. That's all there is to it. Like I said, when Anthony is trying to bang the 10 pin off the sidewall and figure out a way to skip the ball in that shallow pit so it double clips the pin in the string and sends it that way. I mean, we've seen 4 converted 710s in the history of the PBA. On string pins, I think we might see 4 710s converted in one season. That's how drastically different they are from standard bowling, at least at this point. Now, just like anything else, each year that goes on, each year that we progress, they're going to make little tiny newer, updated, or better versions of the string pin setters that will most likely get it back to what we're used to bowling on and have been used to bowling on. But for right now, in general, yes, they serve a lot of great purposes, but personally, no, I'm not a fan of them. The pin that shoots over 8 or 9 is now, yes, exactly. It can't shoot as high now.
Right. I incorrectly mentioned that Tom Clark had to say the union. I was wrong. Tom Clark is in the PBA. It was Chad Murphy, the executive director of the USBC, and he did mention near the end of his address, he did bring up the be nice if I could speak English. He talked about string pins. He said, our equipment specifications team continues with string pin setter testing, and a decision on string pin setter certification will happen in 2023. Additional conversations are also taking place with the manufacturers relating to approvals and governance of bowling balls. Look for announcements on those items in 2023. As we know, they also came up with a new hardness test and all that, so that's still an ongoing thing. But he said it right there, Johnny, that we may actually have an answer this year, and a lot of people are going to be upset.
Hey, let's be honest. A lot of people are often upset when Chad says anything.
True.
Hi, Deanna. It's great to see you. Derek, obviously that's a joke because my dad's not 96, but yeah, Carmen's definitely well over 1,000 if my dad's 96. But
math today, JP.
Based on what was that?
You said you're great at math today, buddy. You're doing it. You're killing it.
Well, thank you very much. I am flattered by your statement, sir. It's very respectful. But what Chad, I do like the idea that they are bringing it up now because it's new enough that this is the time to kind of fix the glitches of them, so to speak. So I don't foresee the USBC sanctioning tournaments or leagues anytime in the next year or two. I would think that's more along 4 or 5 years. By the way, that's Evelyn crying outside because she wants desperately to come in and say hi, but I'm not letting her in tonight. She's going to have to wait for me.
That's fair.
You teach your kids. That's good, man. Leave your kids outside.
Ocho does.
Damn right.
Yeah. We got about 10 minutes left. I don't know if you want to continue on this topic. Actually, you know what, Johnny? Just for layman's terms, I know we discussed it before, but just in case there's anybody watching or listening that don't know exactly what string pins are, can you just give a layman's term of what it is?
Sure.
And all that.
Sure. So a standard pin setter, you leave something on the deck, the sweep comes down, the machine comes down, grabs the neck of the pin, lifts it up, the sweep goes back and clears the trash off the deck, and the pin is respotted, or pins are respotted. In string pin, when the pins fall and there's something left on the deck, let's say you leave a 7 pin, all of the pins are all going to get sucked back up into their slots. And then the string pin setter is only going to drop the 10 pins. So it identifies what was left on the deck.
It's like the arcade game at Great Adventure, basically. I have seen.
Right.
Oh my God, I got it now. I got you.
The sweep doesn't come all the way down to the bowling lane. Doesn't even come in contact with the bowling lane. It's a much shorter sweep. So it's almost like, I would say, the bottom of the sweep rests somewhere in the belly of the pin. And again, they get sucked up. Now, the one flaw or issue that I have seen with the string pins, and anybody that's bowled on them has seen this as well, sometimes the pins don't always go directly into their slot. So in other words, it'll suck all these pins up and then they'll all drop down on the deck because they have to untangle themselves to some extent so they all get pulled up into their specific holes. And once they do that, then they can drop whatever they have to drop. So now, one of the big things in the early going is, imagine being at a PBA event and you're in position round trying to make the TV, forget it. I'm just using that as an example. This could be at any point in the tournament. And you're on 13 and 14, and the guys on 15 and 16 are waiting for a fresh set of pins, but the pins just keep dropping 10 times as you're trying to throw a strike to make television. That is a big, big fucking no-no. I mean, it's bad enough if you get jumped on or somebody yells your name in the car. Could you imagine Pete Weber trying to throw a strike and the pins just won't get sucked in? Can you see how mad he is without it even happening?
There'd be a new phrase for sure. One of them, who do you think you is or something.
PBA 50 RPI champion in the house. What up, Troy Lynn? So that's another thing.
Congratulations,
That
Troy.
is another thing that they really, really, really have to consider is that can't be a continuous ongoing issue in any kind of sanctioned league or tournament play. It's too disruptive to the bowlers because now it's not like you're ignoring elements that are behind you or next to you. Now you got to look at it. And you either have to wait, which means if you have to wait an extra,
You're
let's
holding
say,
up bowlers over here, bowlers over there, and
right. What's up, my fellow Dachshund buddy? Yeah, totally. If you have to wait, let's say, an extra 20 seconds a game for pins to stop doing that to throw your shot, it also adds an hour at the end of the block. So now maybe it fucks up with if you have A, B, and C squad like you have at the US Open this week. Maybe it changes the time. So again, it's way too soon to implement sanctioning tournaments and leagues using string pin setters because of oddball shit like that. At least right now.
Real quick, Johnny, what would be the advantage of moving to string pins, or is there? I mean, why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I mean, we've been using the same machines for 100 years now. It's like, what's...
like he said, financially, unless you got a bowlerama or whatever they're called, then you don't have Mick's bowling alley in business anymore sometimes.
All right, I get that. Well, then do you think the technology will somehow get better? I mean, I know everything gets better, through trial and error, through different iterations, but
and this seems like a lateral to a almost regressive move per the like you said, the integrity of bowling,
essentially,
I guess. But, so that's they have a long way to go to make it better when they're going slightly backwards, lateral at best.
Yeah, I agree. For me, Rob, other than the financial aspect of it and the preservation of older school bowling alleys or bowling alleys trying to stay afloat as the times continue to change, I don't know the other benefits of them yet, other than the upkeep of them is insurmountably easier than an AMF 8230 or an original, what was the Brunswick one? And a Brunswick 82. They're easier to get in and out of than a GSX pin setter.
Do they switch
a
the
lot.
pins?
That was what I was actually just going to bring up. That was my other question is, I don't know if it's like, how do you know when it's time to change dead string pins? And when you order them, do you have to order new strings or do you just change out the pin itself? That's another thing, because if you're ever going to have sanctioned tournaments and big events on strings, you can't be bowling on 5-year-old dead string wood.
Right.
And
they're really going to sound like shit.
Now, how many pins are in a deck? 20, I think, or 22 maybe? Does that sound right?
It's typically, it used to be 21 just in case one flew out of the back. That's not possible anymore with GSX pin setters. So they may have gone back to 20, but it always used to be 21.
But there's 2 racks of pins in there. So you're always,
Yes.
And obviously there's, I guess, only one of the 10 pins since they're on a string.
Andy, to answer your... I'm sorry, say that again, Ocho?
Do they rotate 20 pins on string pins also, or that's the same pin getting sucked up each time?
It's the same 10 going into the slot every time. Andy, to answer...
more of a pounding. Go ahead.
It will absolutely take more of a pounding because you're not getting 2 cycles per frame or every other frame. Andy's question, how often they need to be cycled out? I don't actually know the answer to that question because I was never in charge of doing it. I don't know what the life is of a bowling pin, to be quite honest with you. I know when I walk into a bowling alley if the pins are dead or not.
You can hear a cracked pin for sure too. Like you can hear that easy.
Yeah.
And I can.
And I always know when a pin is brand new because whenever they put in brand new pins, I always shoot 40 pins lower. because I leave at least 6 more 7 pins every single time. The pins are so fresh.
Yeah,
they're not rounded off yet. Exactly. So I've never been a huge fan of either of those, but I have no idea what the actual life is. That'd be more of a question for a bowling center proprietor that's been through it before.
We need to actually do that. We need to call around, see who's actively using them, even if we get Bones in here to talk about it. But I'd like to know more about it, honestly, from somebody that's routinely using them.
Well, Brett has a good pointer on the side, because Brett's like one of the best mechanics the industry's ever seen, and he's saying that the GSX pin setters are actually supposed to have 23. So contrary to what I just said, it seems like with the newer models they've gone the other way. So thanks for correcting me there, Brett. I did not know that.
But yeah, Ben Austin brings up a good point real quick as we wrap it up here.
String snapping.
Yeah,
there you go.
That sucks. I mean, that's how much downtime is that? Like, again, I don't know anything about them, so.
I would hope that it's simple. If a string snaps, I'm assuming you take, because again, they get sucked up into a little like pool pocket, so they all go in. So I'm assuming, and the string itself actually pulls back into the motor too. Okay, so if that string snaps, it's got to be as simple as changing a belt.
It's probably like changing a cable on like on a universal machine at the gym or something like that. You know what I mean? You just got to switch out the clasp or something, put it in the pin and roll it back up or something.
Yeah,
I know that shit.
Again, it's not the maintenance on pin setters. There's so much less to do on the strings than there are standard pin setters. So I don't think anything like that would cause a really, really big issue. I would think maybe max it would be down for 5 to 10 minutes with a seasoned mechanic.
I can't see the PBA going to any houses that would implement this, right? Like, it would there's so many games that have to be thrown in a PBA tournament. You would just slow everything down with issues. And not to say that it doesn't happen already with regular pin setters. Obviously they do. But I just, like you said, can you imagine Pete Weber sitting there like throwing, he's on a 290 pace and the fucking pins fall out. Like, what the fuck?
They should use the string pins and put the bumpers up for the Chris Paul Invitational. That way it really looks like a carnival game.
Right. That's a great idea.
That's basically what it looks like. And that's where they should test them. That I can imagine watching one of the celebrities on the Chris Paul Invitational, watching the pins get stuck 3 or 4 times and saying, like, what the hell is going on? That's where I want them to experiment with them.
Roger.
Just to see where they're at.
Roger with the comment of the night, Patrick Allen and string pins would make an 8-hour block.
And he would also make an entire 1-hour stand-up comedy routine that would have everybody on the floor laughing.
That is
100%.
hilarious.
That's awesome.
All right, we're going to our last segment, which is the idiotic post of the week, and you can decide if this is idiotic or not. A lot of people kind of tore this person up on one of the forums on Facebook. The post was, in all my years of bowling, I have never come across this situation until now. Can you have a substitute for a vacancy spot? I didn't think so, but it appears in the rules that you can. Now, this is coming from a new bowler. To me, even if you're a new bowler, that should be common sense, because if you have a vacancy and you use a sub, wouldn't they become part of the team?
Well, it depends on what content. We don't have.
Is the verbiage right in this? Because that sounds
the verbiage is not right.
Okay,
it's not right, because let's say the 3 of us went and joined a 4-person league, but we didn't have a 4th. But they let us enter the league, and we bowled the first 2 weeks with a vacant on our team, and the blind score was 180. And 2 weeks into the season, a guy comes walking in and says, hey, I'm a single. I'd like to join this league late. We could have used a sub on our team for the first 2 weeks that wasn't an established player or a rostered player on our team. But we can have a substitute for our vacant player. In this context, if a person is saying they're bowling a vacant team, like their 4-man team is bowling the vacancy because there's an odd amount of teams in the league, then no. The only way I've ever seen it allowed for anybody to even bowl in that other squad is if they're a pacer. And pacers are really, really frowned upon these days, especially on vacancy night. The last thing a team that's bowling the vacancy wants to do is be there for a minute longer than they have to be. They're like, they're either pissed that they're bowling the vacancy, or they're just like, oh shit, we're going to be done in 2 hours. Let's bowl as fast as we can, and I can make it home for the second half of the football game, or some shit like that. But it's not a stupid question, but we don't have enough information. So based off the 2 things I just said, either way, no, you can't have a sub for a vacant team because the vacant team isn't bowling for anything. But you can have a vacancy on your team and use subs until you get your established fourth roster player.
Now, what if you weren't? What if you were just going to say you're planning on using 3 out of the 4 spots for the entire year, but a buddy of yours just wants to get in there and bowl for a week and take the vacancy spot, and the week after it goes back to being vacant? I mean, is that legal?
Yeah, that's the same as using a sub 1 week and then using the vacant blind score for the following week. Okay. Let's say it's 170. She wants to come in and say hi before we go.
Okay. Ocho, how'd you shoot?
I assume the blind score, it would be something established by the league, for the league, whatever league you're on. I would guess.
I thought it was the same across the board, but
I know, like if you start bowling and you don't have an average, they start you at 180, and then after 3 weeks,
well, correct. The vacancy score never changes.
But that would be, so you just got to bank on and then do the use 10 pins less since they don't show up. So is it a 170 then? I don't know. I just show up.
There's the
do awesome.
There is the star of the show right there, Evelyn.
There she is, Evelyn.
I'll give you a quick little update for Evelyn. So we were about 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks, probably 8 weeks. We were in 16th out of 17th place. And we finished the first half in 4th place because I got hot, John L. got hot, my nephew got hot. We just got wicked hot. And we took 5 or swept every time for about 6 to 8 weeks, basically. And then we opened up the second half with a sweep. 690 something I shot, of course, with an open. But it was easy. Had a big red wiffle bat with me. Balls from 2008. That was good to go. Heck
yeah.
How did you last week, Coach?
Thanks. Appreciate it. You guys, your enthusiasm is infectious.
Well, did you shoot 696 because you made your spares that you missed 6 times the week before?
I forgot. I actually forgot. No, I got first game was a 279, so I got wrapped in the 5th frame.
Good for you.
With a 10, made it, and then off the sheet clearly, which I wouldn't have done because I'd have got wicked nervous, later on if I didn't leave that ring in 10.
Clearly.
And then I missed 1 spare. I missed a double wood. I picked the back pin. I missed the 1, 2, 3, the 2-8. I picked off the 8. But it was we had a blind, and the other team wouldn't bowl until it was their turn. I got a gripe now. Shit. And then we're leaving.
Hurry up.
Well, hang on. I'm sorry. I have to say hi to one of the most important people in my life. Gina, I haven't seen you in forever. I absolutely love and miss you too. And I hope all is well. And you're the best. I'm so happy you popped by. That's so great.
Ocho, can you save your gripe for next week?
It's about 18 seconds.
Okay, go ahead.
We were missing a guy. If you're missing a guy, you're getting out early, right? Like the pacer or whatever the hell.
Right.
The other team wouldn't go until their team went. So even though it's like ready golf, you get up and you go when the damn arrows are on you, but they wouldn't freaking do it. And then they'd even wait longer to where I'd get to have to go again, and they still wouldn't freaking go. So they were trying to get me out of my rhythm. It didn't work. We swept them. Okay, Rob's got to go. The end.
Nice mask.
Damn right.
Unfortunately, guys, I do have to go. But yes, again, Johnny has a challenge to everybody here. Correctly guess the winner of the 2023 US Open, which starts next week, and he will give you one of his balls.
And remember, if the name has already been announced, it's the first person that said the name. So there's several on here. Even if you go back and watch this podcast, feel free to add your name, especially if it's a new one. Anybody can win any tournament on any given Sunday. Just because all the top guys are already taken does not mean that Jules Verne out of the TQR has got no chance to win. So I don't even know why I just said Jules Verne, but anyway. That's so. Yeah, get your
badminton champ anyway. So
get your guesses in. Remember, top 9 make the 2 televised shows for the championship, so you got as good a chance as anybody. It's like finding Wonka's golden ticket. Free ball just for popping a name. Rob, we know you got to go, guys. We're sorry about the short show tonight. We'll certainly be back next week during US Open week, right?
Yes, sir. We will be back to talk about
Ocho.
Yeah. We will be back next week to talk about the US Open. Qualifying starts on the 23rd. Not 23rd, the 27th. I suck.
It starts next week.
Dates. It literally starts next week, and we will be talking about it.
Bill Creighton. Roger's on fire tonight.
Yes,
He's
he
on
is.
fire.
All right, guys.
Sean Riccardi.
Thank you all for joining us tonight, and those of you listening on the audio feed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. And anybody here in the Facebook chat, if you are not subbed to that channel, please sub to our YouTube channel and like our videos and share this podcast with everybody you know. And thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you next week.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at Straight Up 5 Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to straightup5podcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.